In 2020, Democrat Joe Biden was elected President of the United States of America. Coming into office, most people didn't really expect much. Honestly, many Americans were thinking Obama 2.0, but with less energy. Biden was seen as a transitional leader, an old, not wholly there guy who was a moderate, lacking the ambitious plans his competitors had. He was the former VP after all, and had never been seen as a politician that put new ideas forward. Commentators often talked about his lack of consistency. In his long career in government, he has been on both sides of abortion, the Iraq War, and welfare. You name the issue, and Biden probably has supported and opposed it at some point. With a resume that looks like this, one can see where the opinion was coming from. It turns out, however, they were wrong. America's gaffe-prone, in-touch grandpa brought something new to the table. A new economic paradigm. Straight from the horse's mouth, Bidenomics is about growing the economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down. With wording like this, it juxtaposes itself directly with trickle-down economics. Okay, but what is it? It's actually quite simple. It consists of three main pillars: investing in public goods, educating and empowering workers, and promoting competition. Let's start with point 1. Take a look at this graph. This is total construction spending for manufacturing, not only from the government, but from organizations and the business community as well. You can see it's been slow and steady for years, shrinking during recessions and even being flat for the better part of the past decade. This is when the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act came into law. This is when CHIPS got the president's signature. And this is Bidenomics, an over 100% increase in investment in domestic manufacturing. Hundreds of billions of dollars, just in the past year and a half. This remains controversial though. Where some see the return of American industry, others see graft and debt, on a scale difficult to imagine. Others point to regional inequality. The Southwest and the Rockies are picking up most of the money, with 45% of new spending since 2017. The remaining 80% of the country had to split the scraps. In 2022, Texas alone added 54,000 manufacturing jobs. The criticism continues. Let's take a look back at this graph, but instead break it down by category. Computer and electronic manufacturing, otherwise known as semiconductors, make up almost half. Aside from chips though, nominal spending has stagnated, and with inflation, probably declined. Part 2 of Biden's plan was to empower workers. You see, free trade and globalization have long been contentious issues in American politics. But not anymore.
My message to every worker in Michigan and across America is this: I will stop any trade deal that kills jobs or holds down wages, including the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Donald Trump was the most populist US president in modern history, only for his agenda to be outdone by sleepy Joe Biden, his worst nightmare. He kept the tariffs on China and put Buy American restrictions anywhere he could fit them. Putting aside social issues, both sound exactly the same, only Biden uses Grammarly. Which brings me to the sponsor of this video. Just kidding, I'm not cool enough to be sponsored yet. In the 2020 Democratic Party platform, the phrase free trade appears only once. In the Africa section, under foreign policy, talking about a potential agreement within the African Union, not including the United States. Indeed, the first topic mentioned regarding foreign policy in Asia was protecting American workers from unfair trade practices. It doesn't appear in the GOP's platform at all. Both sides of the aisle agree on this, from Ro Khanna in rich and diverse Silicon Valley to rural Arkansas. It's time to reshore manufacturing here at home and create middle-class jobs for Americans. This is the core of Bidenomics, which leads us to part 3 of Biden's agenda: competition. He's cracking down on junk fees, and capping insulin prices. Many Democrats and even Republicans now have big tech in their eyes, viewing the private sector's influence over politics as disturbing. It's hard to argue that the American economy hasn't performed well. We have grown faster than our peers and have the lowest inflation. The IRA, a stimulus bill that made it worse, was perfectly timed. This graph will probably be a campaign ad for the Blues all its own. This chart is committing a crime, though. The US has roughly seen 16% inflation over the past 30 months. Currently, it's around 4%, meaning the growth rate has slowed, but it's still above the trend. Still better than our peers, but who said the British economy was a good standard to compare to? So what is Bidenomics? It's a name for a trend in American political discourse that's been around for a while. Economic populism. Bring jobs back home and reshore our supply chains. Go after the 1%. It's an attempt to package Biden's economic achievements into a slogan before the next election. Him and his aides are hoping it sticks.